Hi, this is Ramansingh, and welcome to my capstone lead Ed 505X Lesson 5 video presentation. Please feel free to reach out to me at my email address. I've also added the names of the schools that I currently work at and the location that I work at. Also a tribute to the guys who provided all the photos for this presentation. So basically the request was to answer a few questions about certain key buttoned areas of what I used to think about them, now what I think about them, what has changed in my thinking, why, what caused the change in my thinking, and for the future I'm putting my energy into was a piece I took from I used to think, now I think, the article from HBR. Now I used to think that students could only learn so much. They were always restricted by their ability and not now what I think is that they can be encouraged and learn in innovative ways. What has changed is I believe and I know that students can do more and be better. The reason why this shift has happened is because I've had an opportunity through this course and through some basic experimentation to understand how PDSAs define and improve student learning, which has now shifted my belief that in the future I'm going to put my effort and energy into developing teachers using the tools of leading ambitious teaching and learning that I picked up in this course. Took a testing break there, so if you see some of the imagery change, please excuse the editing effect. I want to move on to this section, which is talking about the same points but instead regarding the teachers. Definitely used to think that teachers are limited to quality due to the lack of high quality qualifications in the region. As I'm in a developing country, I find it challenging sometimes and I expect a lot more from my teachers. I used to park that under an inability due to lack of educational exposure and something I thought I couldn't help make up. Now that I've been through the course, I think all educators can learn and lead at the same time, which has been a great paradigm shift for me to drive me towards valuing this course. So my understanding that teachers can do better if supported and upskilled correctly has been the big change in my thinking and why it happened. The basic key factor to why it happened was actually in the meeting minutes that we created in some of the modules or chapters or assignments that we were given to spend 2 hours to change the minds of a whole board to work towards improvement science and to work towards changing a whole school effort and adapting a change improvement board and how that tied into building networked learning communities. And I think the big part for me was when I decided to try and play around with to build tools. I could see that we were forming our own internal communities and that's what caused the shift in my mind. For the future, I'm putting my energy into developing an internal NIC and then a larger community outside of our school and into the local area schools to help change minds and outcomes from education around Colombo. So basically, I believe that this ability to innovate and educate with innovation science is definitely logical, method-based, method-based, and teachable to a lot of teachers out there. And this course has a great structure around it that allowed me to understand and shift my belief towards that. Moving along for leaders, this was really a big impact area for me. I used to think that they don't have the time and they don't really know how to make a difference. They are drivers from the top and they just want us to follow the process, the procedures, and use the tools to give them the kind of results they're getting everywhere else. Now I think that I'm a leader and I can improve everything going forward, everything being something that's defined with a clear aim, that has a PDSA cycle definition behind it, that has some data to drive it. And obviously I understand that there are practice and research experts who can come in and create multiple levels of deep analysis, and I hope to get there with working with the local universities and pulling in people to look at data in the longer run. But for now, I think the big shift has been that my mindset is that everyone is an innovator, everyone in schools is a leader and learner at the same time. So leading and learning is a core takeaway for me, and the program, especially 503, is one of the big reasons I have seen this shift in my mindset. We were able to use the code, the tools, the processes shared in 503X and really shift my mindset, and then give me the skills to convey and change other people's minds to drive them to be leaders and innovators in each of their roles, no matter if you are an assistant teacher all the way through the school principal or even on our school board. For the future, I'm putting my energy in being the leader that other teachers can look to and work with, most importantly work with, to improve and innovate in education. For classroom, schools, and systems, I have linked them or coupled them together. Basically, if you look at the big binder picture, that is how I think of schools, school systems. They're just a whole lot of process and procedures and best practices and training programs that somehow make us think that we're going to sit in a library that's filled with tremendous amounts of knowledge and come out being able to create happy pictures like the one on the far right, where students are learning. So I used to think there is space. Now I think that classroom, schools, and systems, each one of them is a tool that is part of a system. I understand and respect systems a lot more. So what has changed is it has become something of use with connected impact. That's what I think of each of these areas. Also, why has that shift happened? So understanding, exploring systems was a key part of understanding problems and innovating solutions, which I think was 502 or 503X. This opened my eyes to all the potential things that were part of the problem or opportunity as a potential asset. So when I say that, I mean everything that we look at from an improvement perspective is a problem, or what I like to now call an opportunity, and as the potential to be an asset. So what is going to be an asset to this problem? Our classrooms are going to be an asset, our schools are going to be an asset, and the system's going to be an asset. Now we looked at locally, we've looked at improving our drop-off school parking design so that kids can get from outside to inside more effectively, to reduce the late delays in the morning. We're on a busy road, and just being able to address those problems in a logical, systematic manner while considering the school as part of the system of the problem has been a great mind shift for me. So for future, I'll ensure that we consider learning spaces during learning design. So anytime we're doing any design work around classrooms, schools, systems, or any potential opportunity, we look at these locations as assets towards solving that problem. Moving to one of the later sets, parents, families, and communities. Honestly, I used to think that they are people who pay us for a service. Now I think they're part of a system that adds tremendous value towards many initiatives. We have not actually implemented too many initiatives outside of the parent support group in our organization, but what has changed is my understanding of them as part of the system, and the fact that parents have an impact on how the students learn and perform has been a big change for me to my thinking and problem solving skill set. So obviously, understanding, exploring the system was a key part of understanding problems and innovating solutions. This opened my eyes to all the potential things that were part of the opportunity as a potential asset. Similar to the schools and buildings, so now we moved from the peripheral system of the classroom and the tools to the parents and the families and the communities. Really, what I'm trying to get at is when we looked at the data for the certain low attendance schools and the community and what the students had said about why they were late to school, it really stuck with me that it's sometimes it's as simple as a parent is misinformed about how to schedule a doctor's appointment outside of school hours, or a parent is unaware that late days affect your child's learning. So creating a lot of problems can go away if we just create information and opportunity to communicate with our parents, our families, and communities, which will then, with open communication, allow for better support. And so for future, I'm putting my energy into definitely looking for ways to include parents, families, and communities into system factors when solving problems. So I've kept it really simple in my head as a startup organization and as someone trying to incorporate some of the good practices in this program. I'm really focusing on driving simple aim statements, putting in PDSA cycles, and then monitoring data and continuing to improve in simple ways before we go into larger implementation cycles across both our schools, or even looking at larger strategic outlooks that will then drive hopefully some partnerships with universities to bring in some deep researchers who can work with our teachers once they've built a little bit of resilience for this kind of work and against naysayers for implementation science. So that is the longer term outlook. Finally, coming into education improvement and reform, I used to think these were fancy words for lesson plans and operation checklists, which the strict bosses right at the top would drive us to. Now I think each of these words has an associated organization or many organizations under its purview, allowing for immense research in its understanding and development to help me do my job. So every one of these words in education, in innovation, in improvement, in reform has so much research and so many tools available for someone like me to do my job. And I honestly now think that I can tap into that. I have and access to a network, and honestly the skill set. I understand innovation and improvement in education, and that plays a big part in my ability to create this change in these areas. What caused the shift? Obviously the content of this course had played a critical part in exposure to real solutions, to real processes, to working with real tools, real situations, and it's hopefully someday, like I was saying, we can push this to a level beyond innovation, beyond improvement, to reform and create larger communities outside of our school, work with maybe a government organization to create thorough reform. But for now, it has caused a shift in my belief that reform is possible. I'm putting my energies into helping more educators understand the power and potential that they have, and not to park their issues in excuse buckets like we don't have funding, or I don't know how to do this, I can't figure it out. Can you maybe, if you had a system or a process for me to follow, I could do it. Instead saying we love our work, we are teachers, we're here to solve problems. As the landscape changes, as education changes, the tools change, we need to be passionate, drive this thing with fidelity, and spread learning, and do that by leading and learning our organizations, our roles, and definitely found a lot of that through this course, or at least the vision for a lot of that through this course. I hope to strengthen that with good data, with good practice, and hopefully be able to use these tools, which I already see taking effect in my general thinking, in my ability to create positive change. Thank you. I've left all of my information. Call me if you have a question, and please reach out. We're all part of a learning community. If I have a senior member of the team watching this, I'd like to apologize for all the maybe misunderstandings or the gaps in learning that I haven't been able to close over this journey. I'm happy to revisit any portion of the course that you would point me towards, and review any more or less content. And I look forward to completing the course with a certification in the master's program. Thank you.